This man is dead. You can't find your daughter. You're getting teenagers who are being very specific with time. And you don't think that these things are connected? And she's like, well, why would I? They have nothing to do with each other. Why would I think that? And he's like, think about it. What up, everybody? It's your girl, Sherry's Joy, with another episode of Bookmarked. This weekend, I read Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane. Dennis Lehane is the author of Mystic River and Small Mercies, which I actually read. This is the second book from this author that I have read, and I've got to say, I wasn't surprised at all of how good this book was. This book was written in April of 2023. I read along with the audio, and the audio is narrated by Robin Miles. It's about 10 hours audio and about 307 pages on my Kindle, and it was very enjoyable. It was very much of a page turner, and this book very much had some harsh moments, and whew, let's just get into it. So what is this book about? Racism. It boils down to straight up racism. It's 1974 Boston, right after the gas shortage of 1973. It has nothing to do with that. This is just kind of like a feel of what's going on. So we have a busing situation mandate going on here. So the students of South Boston, which is known as Southie, are being bused to Roxbury, which is a predominantly Black suburb area, or a Black part of Boston, to whereas Southie is a predominantly white area of Boston. So Southie students are being bused to Roxbury. Roxbury students are being bused to Southie. Now, I don't know anything about Southie except for what is portrayed here in this book and what I've heard and what I have not witnessed, but just what I've been told. My family is very heavily from Boston, and so I only know Roxbury and Mattapan, and then the suburbs outside of Boston, right? So that's what I know. And I will say that my church is in Roxbury. I have family in Roxbury. I have friends in Roxbury at the time. This was like the 80s. And, it was a rough area. My mom's car got, broken into every time we went to church, like every week it got broken into, never stolen, just broken into, and they stole what was inside. So I guess it was good they didn't steal the car. I don't know. So, but you walk around, you're there, you mind your own business. It's whatever, just like anywhere, right? There's nowhere in America that is 100% safe. Okay, even your own house can be dangerous, right? So it is what it is. I hate that phrase, but it's the truth. So 1974 Boston busing. The dialogue in this book was very much cringe, like, oh. So I will just say every racial slur that you can think of, but that are, for Black people, Europeans, everything was in this book. Okay, so the dialogue in this book is just like, oof, oof, cha. So there's like every racial slur for Black people and Europeans, and just, every slur that you can think of, it is in this book, pretty much. Okay. And that's what the book is about. It's racism. So even though it was like a cringe to hear and to read or see, it was like the book would not be the same without it. Like if we took that out and we fluffed it up, it wouldn't be believable. You know what I mean? So, what is the book about? Okay. So 1974 Boston, the busing. At the beginning of the book, first chapter, we meet Mary Pat, and her daughter, Jules. Jules, I believe, is 17 years old and she's in high school. And it is like right before, I think it's like the week of school, getting ready to start, and this busing is happening. So we learned that Mary Pat is like, yeah, no, they don't belong in our neighborhood or our suburb, and we don't belong there. You stay to yourself, right? She's all like, Southie stays with Southie, Roxbury stays with Roxbury, Mattapan stays with Mattapan, Back Bay, Dorchester, Dorchester. And those are just all the different areas, some of the different areas of Boston itself. As I said, I'm very familiar with Boston. And I mean, I don't know how it is now because I haven't been in a while. But I am, from that area. I have family from that area. My church is in that area. I think I've already said that. We meet Jules and Mary Pat. So we learn about their relationship, right? They've got like this nice, friendly mother-daughter thing going on. It's just the two of them. They're joking around, cussing around each other, your typical New England relationship with your family type of thing. And so that night, Jules goes off with her boyfriend. Mother thinks it's her boyfriend. His name is Rum for short. His name is, I don't know, but they call him Rum. I can't remember what his name is. It doesn't matter. And so she goes off with him. And that same night, we learn that this Black man, his name is Augustus, he is found dead in the subway. So what happened? So the story is based around that. So we're trying to figure out what happened to Augustus, but then we learn that Jules is missing. So we're kind of trying to figure out where's my daughter type of thing, and what happened to Augustus. So Mary Pat ain't playing, right? You want to talk about Mama Bear? This is Mama Bear, for real. She's got nothing to lose here, right? She lost her husband. Her daughter's missing. She doesn't care. She's actually, she lives in this community called Commonwealth. And so I'm kind of getting that it's not really the projects per se, but it's kind of like a housing development in Southie. I don't know anything about Southie really, so I don't know how all of that is structured. But that's just kind of the vibe that I'm getting through the pages, right? So she's not rich, she's not poor, she's just there. So she understands and can relate, or not really relate, but she understands what it's like to struggle and what it's like to make ends meet. So she definitely understands, some stuff. So I'm not getting full on racist from her, but I am getting some I'm white and I got some privileges again, because I live in Southie and I'm white. I'm not Black. So I'm ahead of the game here. That's what I'm getting from her. Those are not my words. That is just what I am getting from the character. And so that's the type of person she is. There's also a scene where, or a chapter, a storyline where Robert Kennedy is giving a speech, or he's making an appearance, and people are spitting on him. Okay. And she's like, they're spitting on a Kennedy? What's going on here? And she's like, oh my goodness. And just goes just is in disbelief, they're spitting on a Kennedy, and things are happening, and, just because he's talking and all these things. So I'm not really getting that she really deep down in her heart is a racist. I just think that she just that's all she knows is that way of living or that mentality. And so, I have a love-hate with her because she's still using the words, right? She's still using the slang and the dialogue. But at this point, all she wants to do is find her daughter. So as a mother, I can relate to just wanting to find my daughter. So she's got nothing to lose. So she's full on mama bear and she is just trying to find her daughter. And then at the same time, we're trying to figure out what happened to Augustus. So at the same time, she's using these racial slurs, but I don't agree with them. But I do agree with the mama bear thing, right? Because she's just trying to figure out what's going on with her daughter. Where is she? And then on the other side of things, we're trying to, they're trying to investigate to find out what's going on with Augustus and what happened to him. So Mary Pat goes to her ex, which is Julie's dad, and she tells him these things, what's happening. This is earlier on in the book too. And he's like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that Jules and her friends went out to this park, and this park is right across the street from the subway station that this man was found dead. This man is dead. You can't find your daughter. You're getting teenagers who are being very specific with time, and you don't think that these things are connected? And she's like, well, why would I? They have nothing to do with each other. Why would I think that? And he's like, think about it. And she's like, I am thinking about it. And I don't see what the two of them have to do with one another. So he basically figures it out. He basically figures out the whole book, right? He's like, look, they are definitely connected in some way, shape, or form. So now Mary Pat is like thinking like, oh my God, they're connected. What do I do here? So she's out to find out what happened. And she does get down to the bottom of it. She does find out what happened. There are so many different twists and turns in this book. I didn't even know that there could be. And I knew that there could be, but I didn't see them coming. I was like, whoa, you're like blindsided. You're just like, whoa, smack, like, whoa, what is happening? So it was like a very enjoyable book for sure. So here's what it boils down to, I guess, right? You got some historical fiction, you've got racism, you've got crime, you've got, a missing person, you got some psychological stuff, you've got domestic stuff, you've got cop stuff, you got drugs, you've got addiction. There's like so many things in here. And you got interracial couples. This book is it hit the mark on so many different levels. Now, I was born in the 70s, but I was not alive or thought of in 1974. And so I still remember, I remember the 80s, and I remember how hard and how rough things were. Even in the 90s it was. So I could see everything that was happening in this book, right? And don't even let me just mention here, I talk to my family, I find out things. I listen to the stories. I listen to the history of my family, the history of areas. I love all of those things, right? So I'm very invested in stuff. So I can really see and understand and believe everything in this book. So I was completely entertained by it. I wouldn't change a single solitary thing in this book. I don't think there's anything that I hated or did not like that is in this book. Except for the ending. I don't like it when bad things happen to people in general. But the end of without spoiling it, it's not even a matter of not liking how the ending was written, because that's not true. I just don't like what happened at the end, right? I guess that's what the thing is. But I thoroughly enjoyed the book. It did take me back to my New England days, especially listening. Robin Miles did a phenomenal job at the accents and the dialogue. It was spot on. It was so spot on and so reminiscent to whereas at the end of each day when I stopped listening, when I went to talk, it was the Boston came out in some of the stuff. The Boston is still there in some of my words that I say, but not like how after I read this. And it's hilarious. Normally I cringe because I had such a bad experience. I mean, the racism, like I'm telling you, it's real. And I had a horrible experience in that area. Like, trust me, I've been spit on, I've been harassed, it's been bad. So I didn't have the PTSD with this book. That doesn't mean I'm going though. I don't care to go back to Boston. So anyway, I appreciate all of you. Oh, I rate this book a 5. Yes, a 5. It was vivid. It was a page turner. It was entertaining. I believed the characters. The main character, like I said, I had like this love-hate with her, but I bonded with her only because she's a mother and the mama bear came out. Like, I don't even want to speak the words, but I can understand doing everything in your power to find out what happened to your child. I would stop at nothing, and she stopped at absolutely nothing. She had nothing to lose, and she, to the very end, I mean, you might as well have like put an arrow in her chest and she's still going. You know those scenes on TV, like where someone gets split in half or something like that, and they're still talking like that. Okay. So I'm right there. That's the thing. So I had the character build, okay. If I were to say anything I didn't like, there were quite a bit of few characters in here that got a little confusing. There were some parts where I had to, reread it or rewind it, or what did that say? What was that? So just to kind of like follow along, like I obviously take notes and I had to write down stuff. So, okay, so there you go. Might have been just a tad bit too many people that she was talking to, and it got a little confusing there at times. But other than that, flawless. Loved it. Am I going to read another book by Dennis Lehane? Absolutely. Do I know which one? No. I have too many books right now on my TBR, and I am very excited to read each and every single one of them and talk to you about them. And I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate all of your likes, your subscribes, your comments, your suggestions. Keep them coming. I love it. This is still the beginning of the year, and I am very excited for all of the things that I have coming up. I love life, I love the world, and I love you all. So take care of yourselves and each other. Shout out to all of my news people who say that, and just spread the love and follow me everywhere. My socials are below. I am one half of the DigiKast, and you can find us at the socials below. Thank you again. Love the world.